wake up with a smile, and then in a while, come to lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies.
Hi, I'm Susie, and welcome to Lunch with the Ladies. If this is your first time with us, we are just what we say, a bunch of ladies having lunch. And we talk a lot about a whole lot of things. Because we've all reached a certain age, we have a lot of opinions. We've done a lot of living, and we have a lot to say about it. But we'll always have someone of another generation to help keep us current. So grab a glass of wine, sit back, and have lunch with us. Today's topic is shows that we think, maybe 5 shows we think you should be watching to put you in a good mood. So hello, everyone, today. How are you doing, and what are you eating today?
Okay, I'm doing really well. I'm eating a healthy salad and drinking water with lemon. But it's just because tonight I'm planning on having wine and pasta.
Ileana, what are you having?
Well, I'm the bad girl because life is short, so I'm having tiramisu dessert.
Oh, I didn't know we could have dessert.
You know, they actually say if you're a dessert person, it's okay to eat dessert first and then eat your meal.
And I do, with no guilt.
And Messalina, what are you eating?
I have a bowl of strawberries. I was going to do fruit salad, but I don't like fruit salad, so it just became strawberries.
Okay. And Messalina, you should be doubling up on that fruit because you're eating for 2, correct?
Yes, I am.
And Messalina, have you been having cravings?
Nothing weird or anything like that. Definitely, I think the strongest kind of craving I had was the other day where I swear I ate half a chicken. I was craving meat. I'd had beef at lunch, and then my mom did a roast chicken, and I had 4 helpings. So that was extreme.
I've had, when I was pregnant for my first child, I had cravings of grapefruit. I would actually send my husband out to buy me 3 or 4 grapefruits at a time. My second child, I craved Burger King.
Child, I craved trail mix, of all things, trail mix. And my second child, I craved sweet potatoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about you, Ileana?
I only have one child, and I craved Fig Newtons. It's the weirdest thing because I never ate Fig Newtons. And I just saw them one day in the supermarket, and I said, I'm going to try these. And I just would carry them in my bag at all times. Going to work, I always had a little box of Fig Newtons.
It's the strangest thing. I discovered, and this is going way back, but when I was pregnant, I think they just created cookies and cream ice cream. Seriously, Messalina, if you can believe that, they didn't, that's a recent development. And I do remember eating a lot of that with my second child. So that's why today I'm eating salad. So let's talk. We've had a lot of time in the house. There's so many streaming networks. I would like all of you to tell me what you've been spending your time watching. So I want to start with Beth. Beth, I know what one of them is already.
The Queen's Gambit. I just loved.
I do know. So tell me what your top 5, what would you suggest for people to watch?
Okay. I loved the Queen's Gambit for so many reasons. But I love the time period. And I love the theme. It hasn't been done yet. Just loved it. The other thing I thought was fabulous, and she was also nominated for an Emmy, Unorthodox, which is a true story. And it's just excellent about a young woman who leaves her very strict Orthodox Jewish upbringing. I liked Lupin, which came out of France, about a man who is avenging his father's death. And he's able to sort of morph into anything he needs to be. I love that. Should I keep going?
Are you up to 5? That's 3, right?
Okay. I have Imposters, which is actually a couple of years ago. I love it. If you haven't seen Imposters, it's a lot of fun. It's really, it'll really grab you. I mean, I watched it together with my husband. There are very few things we watched together. He didn't watch The Queen's Gambit. He didn't watch Unorthodox, but he watched Lupin and he loved Imposters. And Lupin and Imposters are very similar in that what you see is not always what's there. And then I started watching Emily in Paris, which I loved. But I realized I have sandals older than Emily. And so I was trying to identify with her, but I couldn't. So I had to switch. I had to have something that was just fun. So late at night, I watched old reruns of Heart to Heart. Okay, nobody else may know. I think I'm the oldest, so I think nobody else might know what that is.
No, but I know what that is.
It was an Aaron Spelling show with Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. And late at night, when no one can see that I'm watching this, I was watching it because they fight crime in fabulous, fabulous dresses with feathered hair. And so that's what I was watching.
Cool. Ileana, and I was watching a lot of those too. So we're going to discuss some of those shows right now. But I was expecting Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to be in there.
They haven't come back yet.
Okay. All right. We'll discuss that anyhow.
Oh, favorite.
Ileana, what have you been watching?
Some of the ones that Beth mentioned, I've been watching as well. So I'll try to mention some other things. So Money Heist, which is actually a Spanish show. In Spanish, it's called La Casa de Papel. And it's just so intriguing. It's an unusual group of robbers that attempts to carry out the most perfect robbery in Spanish history, stealing 2.4 billion euros from the Royal Mint. And the whole thing is masterminded by a character they call the Professor. And it's just twists and turns, action-packed. It's intense. And you can watch it in English. You know, it's made in Spanish, but you can watch it in English. So that's Money Heist. Another one which I love is The Sinner with Bill Pullman. Who doesn't love Bill Pullman? He's so yummy, right? And he is a detective, and each season is a different case. So we follow this detective, Harry Ambrose, through the entire season, and he's on one case. The first season was unbelievable with Jessica Biel. She was this young mother who stabs a man to death, and there's witnesses, so everybody says, yes, she did it. But Bill Pullman is convinced that there's something else going on. And so the show is really all about how ordinary people can commit incredible crimes. And why is that? So that was the first season. The second season was good, but the third season was unbelievable. It blew my mind. The third season, you've got another hunky guy, Matt Bomer, plays the lead character with Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman, again, is always the detective. So you've got this seemingly normal guy who's a professor, not a professor, he's a teacher at a prestigious prep school. He's a husband, he's having his first child. But when an old friend from college comes to visit him, Nick, who's played by Chris Messina, who's fabulous in this role, he drops by for dinner unexpectedly, and he unlocks something primal and terrifying deep within him. And the wild ride that you're going to go on is unbelievable. So that's The Sinner. Another show is Behind Her Eyes. This one is a mini series. It's on Netflix. It follows a single mother who enters the world of this twisted mind game with her boss, who's a psychiatrist. She ends up having an affair with him, but secretly she befriends his mysterious wife. And this show, this little mini series, has the most creative ending of any series I've seen in a long time. So I definitely highly recommend it. And I think that was 4. So last but not least, The Undoing.
Oh.
Nicole Kidman, again, another hunky one. I've got a pattern here. Hugh Grant.
But wait, I'm going to stop you there, Ileana.
Yes.
So to us, Hugh Grant is hunky. I don't know if Messalina, I mean, you know, he's our generation. So he's an attraction for us. What would a young person say about Hugh Grant?
Well, I think he's undeniably charming. I definitely think that when I'm watching like Notting Hill and things like that, then yes, very much so. I mean, now I think he's possibly aged up a bit, but I mean, I think that he's still very dreamy. So
Very dreamy.
he's charming. So you don't lose that. It's just like George Clooney doesn't lose his charm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's right. I think in The Undoing, he purposely didn't look so good because he was so tormented. I mean, you could tell us more about that story, but he was so tormented, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a modern day twist to a classic whodunit tale. So it's the life of this very, very wealthy family. So it's Nicole Kidman, and of course, her father's Donald Sutherland. They live in the most plush parts of New York City. I think it's supposed to be Central Park West, and there's incredible apartments, and their world is turned upside down when they get involved in a murder case. And I'll leave you there because I don't want to give anything away.
Well, I would like to add something to that. I mean, I don't want to do spoilers, so maybe this is a little bit of a spoiler, but that was a show that I was able to watch with my husband because that is hard to find sometimes, shows that you and your husband both like. And we watched it and we were on the edge of our seats. I thought, and this is kind of a spoiler, I was hoping that it was Nicole Kidman's character that did it and she was just like a dual personality. So the actual ending, I was like, okay, I kind of saw that coming, but I still loved it.
Yeah. Well, because I think they kept playing with you. They kept playing with the son. They kept playing with the wife. They kept playing with the husband. And they just kept throwing you little twists and little curveballs to throw you off a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to say too much else because otherwise I'll give stuff away.
Yeah. But worth seeing because of Hugh Grant. And Nicole Kidman was excellent.
Ladies, the coats she wears. Tell me the coats are not just gorgeous coats. Beautiful long coats that she wears as she's walking down Central Park West and the wind is blowing. And I'm thinking, oh my God, these coats are magnificent. And her with her gorgeous red curly hair, just stunning.
And I have to say, since some of us here are in the movie business, I do look at the costuming and the locations, and you can see how expensive these productions are.
Very.
And I actually heard with The Undoing that the apartment that they were in, they redid just for the show. It was beautiful to begin with, and then they redid it. So
okay, I'm putting that on my list.
Yes, definitely. So Messalina, what have you been watching?
Okay, so first I just finished All Creatures Great and Small. They had a version in the 70s, but this is a new version that's been done, and I loved it. It's 7 episodes, and for those of you who might not have heard of it, it's a British book that was written by James Herriot, and so it's his story of being a vet in the Yorkshire countryside, so in the 1930s, and it's a lot of fun, and there's no. It's just a story about people, no bad guys, nothing crazy. It's gentle. And so it's really nice to watch and very much all ages, family appropriate, which is lovely. Second one is WandaVision, which I adored, but I'm a huge Marvel Comics fan and I've seen all the films and everything. So it's definitely, my piece of advice will be that if you've not seen the Avengers films, it's not going to make sense. So you do need to do some like homework and watch some other things first. So you don't have to watch every single film, but definitely at least watch all the Avengers ones, because that way you'll know what's going on and you'll recognize others.
And I want to add to that, Messalina, because that was another show my husband and I said, let's watch. And and they kept saying it's a standalone. You'll understand it even if you don't know what's going on in the Marvel universe. Well, as you said, not necessarily true. I mean, what drew us in is all those sitcoms, the way they started with the Dick Van Dyke Show, which Messalina, you probably never watched, but we were all familiar with. And they jumped through a lot of sitcoms, and that was really catching my attention. I feel that, I don't forget what episode it was where they gave away what was really happening.
Don't say too much, because it, like, for people, like, it's
true.
But like it's like I say, as long as you watch the Avengers films, you know who Wanda and Vision are, then the rest of it should make sense. But yeah, the twists that come later on, I was like, we were on the edge of our seats because my whole family's obsessed, and we're like, oh my goodness, does that mean that? And we're reading so much into like tiny little things and the Easter eggs that were in it. So it was really exciting to do that because I had no idea where it was going, and that was the fun of the sitcoms.
Yeah, and I think it was very enjoyable for me. It was extra enjoyable because I did hear about all those Easter eggs that the true Marvel people, nerds, if you want to call them, Marvel fans were watching. So what else do you like?
So then, similar vein to All Creatures Great and Small, I love the Darls in Corfu. And actually, one of the lead actors is in both. He's very charming young gentleman with blonde hair, very cute. I'm forgetting his name right now, which is bad of me, but he's great. And so this is about the Gerald. I don't know if any of you have heard of Gerald Darl. He was a very famous zoologist, and he did tons of work with animals during the 20th century. And his brother was also a very famous author. And so they both wrote these books, and they've taken the books they wrote about their experience living in Corfu in Greece during the 1930s, because their mother lost her husband and had these 4 children to bring up, and had no money and didn't know what to do. So she packed them out of England and sent them, and they all went to Corfu, and it's their adventures on the island and getting to know the locals and everything. And it's wonderful. Again, it's very gentle, lighthearted, and it's a lovely show and beautiful scenery. Oh my goodness. That's what I want to do. Like, just go to Greece. It's amazing. It's so gorgeous. I just want to swim in the ocean. It just looks amazing. And then my next one is Bridgerton, which I'm sure everyone's heard about, but I mean, Regé Jean Paul is just gorgeous and so charming. And it's just, I found it a lot of fun. And probably to a lot of your horror, I watched it with my mother. But but I mean, my family, we watched Game of Thrones together and everything, so like we're just not quite phased the same way by that, and we just found it funny because we get to later episodes and my mom and I were like, oh yeah, we read something about you're not meant to watch this with your parents, and we're like, oh well. And it was funny. And then my final one, sorry,
I'd like to jump in on Bridgerton. I don't know if Beth or Ileana, if you watched that, but I watched that, and I watched it because people said watch it, but I was like, oh, it's some British thing. I don't think I'm going to like it. And I think I was hooked in the first 2 minutes. As soon as I saw the characters and the way they speak and the colors and the costuming, and I did not know what was coming. My husband said, oh, there's a lot of something in there. And so when it came, I was like, wow, I was not expecting that. That is not what I thought that this was about. But I really got hooked on it. I think I binged that one really quickly. The writing was so well done. And it's really something, if you're thinking of it in a feminist way, you could see how badly the women were treated, and yet you could see the sparks of life in some of them, that they were really trying to break out of the mold that they were set into. So I think that you can go a little deep with that show, even though some of it is just frivolous and just pure entertainment. I really enjoyed the way it was written.
I haven't seen it, but my daughter is coming home tomorrow and so for a week. And so based on Messalina's preview, I think I'll wait. I don't want to embarrass her.
It just depends on your own individual relationship with your own children, because I know everyone thinks that my relationship with my mom is a bit unusual, but it works for us, so it's all good. But yes, definitely, that's the articles that were saying don't watch with your parents, and I was like, oh well.
But and a lot of it it's really necessary. It's necessary to the plot.
Exactly. It's not for the sake of it. I think it is necessary, and it's also. I mean, and going back to that feminist thing, I think the way it's done is a completely new take to the screen in terms of it's making things much more about women, and I think that's a nice thing to see as well on camera.
Yes. Yes.
And my
it is Shonda Rhimes.
Sorry,
it's Shonda Rhimes. So
exactly, yeah, she's amazing. And then my fifth one is The Mandalorian. So again, back into not Marvel World, but Disney World in terms of into Star Wars. And there's 2 seasons now. And I mean, you can't help but love Baby Yoda. I mean, Baby Yoda's Baby Yoda. When I told my husband that I was pregnant, he's like, oh, I know what baby's gonna be for Halloween. Baby Yoda. That was the response. So you can tell it's very popular with actually my whole family. We all love it. And again, it is much more standalone, I'd say, than WandaVision, but there are Easter eggs and things that happen, particularly the second season, that if you've watched at least the original Star Wars films, make a lot of sense then, and it just adds so much to it. So as a Star Wars fan, definitely watch the first 3 films. So that would be episodes 4, 5, and 6, because I know it's confusing with the numbers. But yeah, and then the series is so good.
I did watch. My family are especially my 2 sons are huge Star Wars fans. So that would be our movie trek, a film that we can all watch. So I've seen all the Star Wars movies, and I did enjoy. I watched the first season of The Mandalorian. I might go back for the second, but what I wanted to ask you, since you're a Disney fan, have you been to the Star Wars attraction yet at Disney in Florida?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
It's so cool. I won't say anything else, but just you have to go.
It is just amazing. I mean, my husband, you know, I think we went a year ago, and my husband had to go online in order to get the tickets. Like, they show up at 7:00 in the morning and run into.
It's now 6. It's 6 a.m.
Oh.
And you have to be in the park at 6 a.m. We were in the park just after 6 a.m. We got one of the last groups of the day. So we were there from 6 a.m. until like 10 p.m. at night. It was crazy, but it was so worth it. We were like, are we crazy? And then we did that ride. We're not crazy.
It's just amazing. I don't want to do any spoilers, but you feel like you're on a starship. It's just so well done. So well done. Good. And I'm glad we both got there before the pandemic, because I can't imagine how difficult it is to get on that ride now with the limited capacity.
Well, though I'm hearing right now is actually the best time ever to go around Disney, because there's no one there. So I don't know, but I don't want to risk it. Definitely don't want to risk it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So thank you. So I'm going to give my 5. I'm not as deep. My genre is romantic comedy. And I think during the pandemic, I was looking for extra things that would make me smile more. So my shows are much more lighter. I love Bridgerton. That's on my top 5. Firefly Lane, which is with the girl that used to be in Scrubs. I forget her name. And
is it Katherine Heigl on that?
Yes. And it flashes back to the 80s and the 70s, which is my time period. So when I'm looking at the clock on the wall in the kitchen from the 70s and the TV, I was just like, yeah, I have those. And then they flash back to the 80s when she got her first job, and her mom like bought her like a satchel, like a briefcase. And I'm like, I have that same thing. So it was a really well done story, and they segued it really nice for a second season. So that's one of them. Emily in Paris also, I binged that. I mean, that was really like preposterous, just like Sex and the City was. It was also right. Darren Star was involved. It was preposterous. And I also think that if Sarah Jessica Parker's, I forget her name in Sex and the City. What was her name?
Carrie
Bradshaw.
If Carrie Bradshaw had a daughter, it would have been Emily.
Yes.
Right?
I wanted to be Emily, but I kept saying, I'm actually older than her boss. Well, wasn't what I wanted to be.
You know, but one thing I did notice about that show, and thinking about age, because that is something I look at, they did have some older characters, and they had the strong boss who was a female yes. and who was older. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah,
she wasn't. No, but Emily, and being in marketing also, Emily would walk in with these terrific ideas, and everybody would be like, "Oh!" and then they work. That just doesn't happen. I mean, it was just a fun show to watch. I'm going to put in The Marvelous Maisel as a top show to watch, just because I loved it so much.
That one back.
Well, they're filming it right now, so hopefully soon.
Yes, there was a call for extras, and I had the opportunity to interview Amy Sherman Palladino's mother, Mabon Sherman Palladino, and no, Mabon Sherman, sorry. And she was just a remarkable woman, and I could see with the childhood that Amy had, how she came up with those great stories. So I'm really looking forward to the next season of that.
I think it's June. I think they're releasing it in June.
Okay, all right. And then my last one is Freaks and Geeks. Has anyone watched Freaks and Geeks?
No.
Okay, this one, I didn't think I would like it. It's made by Judd Apatow, and it had Franco in it, and Jason Segel in it, and Linda, I forget her name, it's an Italian name, but she's also in Dead to Me. And it's made in the 90s, but it's about going to high school in the 80s. And again, I was watching it and I was just like, yes, I had that back then. Yes, that is how people acted back then, you know, and it's a really good, the storyline is really good. And I just related to it so much. And it was just, I think it was on Fox when it debuted. So there's 20 episodes and that's it. And I wish that they would do a, Where Are Those People Now? Because we saw how they were in high school. So that's what I watched. And I also have I think I had a lot of time on my hand because I have 25 different series that I watched. So to wrap this up, let's come up with 5 that we suggest people should really watch that we think they'd like. Can we say Emily in Paris?
Emily in Paris, because it's fun and everybody needs fun.
Okay.
It needs fun.
And
I want to watch Bridgerton. I can't believe I haven't seen it.
Okay, so we have Emily in Paris, we have Bridgerton. Ileana, of all of those that you said, which is your favorite?
Why don't we say The Undoing? Because it's a mini series, so it's not a huge commitment, and it's an intense drama. Yeah.
Okay, and The Undoing. Messalina, what would you suggest?
I really think All Creatures Great and Small. It's just so sweet and so cute having all the animals. Like they have baby calves and cows and horses and so on. It's so feel good to see all the cute little animals in it as well. So I definitely think that would be my pick. All Creatures Great and Small. You can watch it on PBS and PBS streams it.
Okay, so we've got Emily in Paris, Bridgerton, The Undoing, All Creatures Great and Small, and I'm going to pick from mine. I'll say The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, even though I love so many of the other ones. Since another season is coming out, it's really good to catch up on all the past seasons.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the costuming before, Susie. You watch it for anything else, just watch it for what she's wearing and what everybody's wearing. It's absolutely wonderful. There was an exhibit at the Paley Center 2 years ago now. Just stunning wardrobes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful wardrobe.
And Beth and I were going to take a Marvelous Mrs. Maisel bus tour in New York
We're going to take last March.
last March, and a little virus put a damper on our plans. So maybe we'll get to do that soon.
Absolutely.
So I thank you, ladies, for being here. I'm going to talk about today's Spotlight charity, and it is Feeding America. Food insecurity has been a common term in the last year. People that have never had problem putting food on the table have been experiencing food insecurity. I really was not even heard of that term before, but it's all over the news. So if anyone really wants to help, the most basic thing, food and shelter, please go to feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. So I'd like to say goodbye to everyone for now. I'd like to ask everyone to follow us on Facebook. And remember, every day, give joy and find joy. See you.
Wake up with a smile.